Well, here is what we're working on today. We've got this 2019 Chevy pickup truck in here that we've beat the hell out of, and we're just throwing parts into that because we beat on it. Got this 9410R in here. We'll get into talking about what's going on that. This is a piece of equipment that has also been abused, and we've got to work on it as well. What we have going on with it, we have a couple of different things. We've got the drive line here that goes to the rear differential. And what had happened to it was the bolt that holds the yoke on the back side here. This bolt worked its way out, got itself into the U-joint. And what had happened was it made some ticking noises here when we went to run it down the road. This U-joint right here, the bolt, got into it. It originally looked like it was bent, but that wasn't the case. Through a more thorough inspection after we had that drive line out of there, with the yoke out of there, it does not make any noise. With the yoke in, it does make noise, and we're gonna get into that in a minute here. This tractor is not washed, it is dirty. So we're gonna have to give the guys here that have some problems with stuff not being washed and the abuse that is put on this equipment, we're gonna have to give them a little bit of a hug here. So we'll get into what parts are going to have to go into this in a minute here. A few weeks ago, I say a few weeks ago, we are really behind with the videos and we're slowly catching up. Sarah had this tractor on the Terra disc. It tripped a code that it was, fan speed low or something like that. We said, you know what? We know what's wrong with that. It is got a bad belt on it. Now, these very cool fan drives that are on these 9,000 series tractors and some of the 8s, there's been some problems with them. I talked about it in a few other videos here, or a few videos back. And this had the drive clutch replaced on it a few years ago. We replaced the belt was wore. We're like, we're good. We know why that tripped that code. It tripped the code because the belt was wore. Put the belt on there, what'd you run, a couple hours? It started making a wallering noise. She says, hey, this isn't right. I don't know if you've got bolts that you didn't tighten up correctly or what, but you need to come over here and you need to look at this. So I go over. I thought the clutch loosened up. It didn't. It was making a wallering noise, and I said, oh man, the clutches are shot. The drive and the driven are probably wore out. Maybe it's just the driven, I don't know. But we had to order some new parts. Some of the stuff they didn't have, but they had some of the stuff reserved for the 9560, which wasn't done yet. And the following morning, I didn't video it at all. The following morning, one of the mechanics came over. He pulled both of them off. I helped him put them both back on, and we are good to go. We chopped third cutting. Jason had a problem where the tractor was turning hard. It wasn't acting right. He got out. This bolt had loosened up on the front of the yoke, got into the U-joint. Then the other day, when the 9560 made its debut back here, she said this AC isn't working. She was roasting in the cab. I said, well, we'll get another tractor over there. And she said, well, I really want to just kind of keep using this one. I said, no, we'll get you another tractor. So the boys took the blade off the tractor. They were bringing the tractor back up the road, and it was making a ticking noise. It was basically sounded like somebody just kind of running a fine-tooth ratchet, you know, backwards. That's what it sounded like. So we got looking at it. We were worried about something maybe possibly being wrong with the differential. And it looked like this U-joint was bent. So we took it out, and it still made the frickin' noise. So then we pulled the yoke off, trying to see if there was any play in the input shaft bearing. We did not see any play. Without the yoke on there, didn't make any noise. We've got some parts that we're gonna throw into it, and we're gonna try it. We're hoping that it didn't push the gudgeon bearing out of the back of the actual gudgeon that's in that articulation joint of that tractor. So that's the first thing we're gonna do. Get the, I'm gonna replace 2 U-joints, and then I'm gonna put the parts into the differential yoke. There's a couple of half-shaped snap rings that go on the output shaft, input shaft, whatever you wanna call it, the part that the yoke goes on. We're gonna put that on there, torque it down, Loctite it, do all that, run it, we're gonna run it with new U-joints. There's probably nothing wrong with these. We thought they were bent, but it doesn't appear that they are, but we're gonna go ahead and replace them anyways. Maybe we'll hold on to that one, I don't know. The other thing that we have going on, what was the code that you were getting? Something with turbo actuator fault. This is a 13.5 liter. It's got a VG, I think it's called a VGT turbo. And you can go ahead and replace the actuator, but 9 times out of 10, it ends up being a faulty turbo. So we have a turbo in the box here. That is gonna be the other thing that we're gonna put on it. It would trip that code every day we started it up in the morning, but it didn't go into limp mode. John Deere was telling me that maybe it was derated by maybe 10%, but being on the bunk, we didn't really notice any derate in power. Now, the drive clutch and the driven clutch, I didn't see the actual bill for that, but that's somewhere around $4,000 for that stuff. I don't know what this ticket here is. This is just some fuel filter stuff and whatever. That does not go to the 9410. This turbo, however, that is itemized on this first piece of paper here, and we're coming up with a grand total of $6,264. The turbocharger reman is $5,900. I don't see a core charge on here. I did not get charged a core for this. We've got $135 shipping fee, and then the other stuff is just miscellaneous items. So we'll put that over here. This next ticket is for a pin and a hook. I don't think that's for, that's not for, I don't think this is for this job. This one is. This is the U-joints. The crosses here are $265. They're basically an 1810, not really. The wheel size, the peg size here is maybe the size of an 1810 drive yoke that goes in a truck. We run the 250s on a couple of the trucks. They're big, they're like that. They're not even this much. But this ticket here was $800. I don't have my glasses on. $647 for this. And I don't know, pin, hook. We've got some other miscellaneous things here for that yoke. So first thing, we're gonna get the U-joints in there, then test drive it, bring it back, get ready to put that turbo in there, and then hopefully by this afternoon you can get doing some disking, huh? Yeah. So we have gotten a bunch of rain in the past few days here. We have gotten enough rain. The amount of rain that we've gotten over the last few days should have been what we got all summer here. We've gotten anywhere from 2.5 to 4 inches so far. So we're gonna go ahead and get the U-joints in and take this for a test drive. Hopefully that noise has gone away, or we are going to have other more serious problems. All right, so we have this drive yoke pulled off of there, and you can kind of see a groove in the shaft just about flush with the actual housing here. There's a couple of half moon pieces that we didn't realize were in there. They're supposed to be in there, and we only recovered one. Now, when we pulled this yoke off, it very easily could have fallen out. This is the bolt here that holds the yoke in, and we're gonna have to make sure we put some Loctite on it. Now, this is a new light from Olight that they have sent me. This is a arc feld or something like that. Just thought I'd bring that to your attention. It can clip on the pocket. I'm not really too awfully enthused with it, but it does have a charge port on the end. It's got a couple of settings for the brightness of the light, and it also has a laser pointer. So what we can do is we can point out what Sarah's doing here. She's installing a brand new U-joint on the yoke assembly that goes from the transmission back to the drive axle. We can get right in there and laser point it out. So what we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to obviously put this camera down. This is a nice army green, by the way. We're gonna have to put this camera down. We're gonna have to hold these in there, and then as we push this drive yoke over the top of it, these are gonna set in there like that, but we actually have to hold them in place while we put that drive yoke on. You ready? You're waiting to hit that with the impact because you don't want to interrupt the camera, do you? So, okay. I'm gonna put the camera down and get to work. Well, we are updating you here. If you look on the bench, we've got 2 pieces, like there is. Thought we lost the one. However, through a more thorough inspection here, this other one was tucked down inside here, and it kind of was resting against the bearing. So we're providing light here with the Seeker 3. This is the light of choice. I carry that on my belt here. I've got a regular belt clip for that. But at any rate, what we need to do is push this yoke on, and we've got to make sure that we get that on there without having those little, like, they're not really C-clips, they're not a snap ring, they're just kind of a retainer, just a spacer, if you will, that goes on there. So we need to line this up. I can't push it on. I think I'm gonna need a hammer. I don't really want to vibrate that too much because I don't want them to fall off last second here. So, I'm not left-handed either, so we're gonna have to maybe put you guys down. I don't know if there's one spot that this goes on better than another or not here. Oh, come on. Come on now. There. So I'm fairly confident that that worked. We're just going to pull it off and make sure they stayed. They did. There. Alright, so we've got that in there. We've got a rubber O-ring that comes around this outside here, and then we can shove the bolt in. Alright, so we've got, this is somewhat of a special bolt. It's got a different shoulder on it. It's got some of the shank missing here, and then it's got this enlarged washer. This has got this rubber O-ring that's going to more or less sit down inside the face of this yoke. That's going to squish in there. That fit nicely. Now we're going to take this guy here home. We're going to hit it with the impact. We're going to give it all what for here. We want to make sure that that bolt gets past that washer. I'm putting this in my hand. I really don't know what I'm doing otherwise. So, some of you guys might be wondering why I'm using a chrome socket. Because, oh, this one, that's cracked too. It's got a crack in it. Oh boy, look at that, it's got a crack in it. So, yeah. So, now we can go ahead and put the drive line in, and then once we get the drive line in, we'll have to hold the brakes on or something and get a breaker bar on there and maybe tighten that down a little bit. Probably could do it right now, actually. We'll start it up and put a breaker bar on there. Okay, got that setting into place, got your bolts.
I didn't know if you were using the new one.
Yeah, the new one's going on there.
Jared found those.
These go in the other side. So I'll get the socket for them, put that new one on there. Yeah, you gotta use these old ones. So it's all right to use the old hardware. We probably shouldn't, but yeah. Smack it on there. Yep. Bang, bang. Well, we are now ready to lift this turbo off of here. I've got everything unhooked on it. I managed to get the 4 nuts off where the turbo bolts down to the exhaust manifold here. I just very carefully went around to each one of them. I heated them up and then very carefully removed them so that I didn't run into an event where I broke one of the studs off, because that wouldn't be too awful fun. So what was happening to this turbo, there's an actuator here on this top side, and then during the different torque requirements, this actuator moves back and forth to kind of give the, I don't know if the right terminology is, wastegate a different position. But that actuator was starting to get a little stiff. It moves freely right now, however, the parameters must be off just enough where it trips a code and it says the actuator isn't responding. Now 9 times out of 10 you can replace this actuator and still have the same problem. I don't know if once this turbo gets hot enough, maybe this little valve inside the turbo, maybe that gets a little stiff, puts a little drag on the actuator, and then the computer realizes that it's got more power going to it than needed, and it trips a code. We need this to work correctly because the other thing that it does is it affects the emissions on the engine here. So it's requiring us to more or less replace this turbo. I think you can buy the actuator. I'm pretty sure you can't buy the turbo without the actuator. In other words, if you try the actuator first and it doesn't work and you have to replace the turbo, I don't think you can buy the turbo without the actuator. Maybe if you can, it's probably more money anyway. Now, if I remember right, 3 or 4 years ago, we ended up having to replace the exhaust manifold gaskets or something. So we have had this off of there before, and that's probably why those nuts came off as easy as they did. So we'll lift that off of there, get it over on the bench, make sure the orientation is matched up right for the new one, slap a new exhaust manifold gasket on there, put the new one on, and then hook everything up. Then we need John Deere to come out, and they have to actually program the actuator. Well, we have the old turbo removed, got a new gasket on here. Now we're just going to put the new one on, put it down into place here, and start bolting everything back up. Well, this is all installed, everything's all plugged in. Replaced the gaskets that needed to be replaced, some O-rings here and there, got everything all plugged in. Now we'll go ahead and start it and make sure we don't have any leaks on it. We're probably gonna see a couple of codes get tripped just because everything's not calibrated, and we need to have CAS come to do that because it's not tripping any codes. Usually there'd be a blue explanation point there. You could kind of see the actuator there on the turbo moving back and forth. See that moving there. So, well, we'll go ahead and pull the hood back down. We've got a couple of bolts to put in the rear part of the hood. We've got it just rolled up and forward. We'll go ahead and put our hours into the computer. This has got 8,295 hours on it. So, doesn't look like we have any leaks, or else we'd be getting stuff sprayed back on us. So that's gonna do it for this one. Well, folks, we'll catch you at the next one. We've got some other jobs to do, and that'll come up in the next video here. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit the thumbs up too. We've got to get a few more thumbs up on these videos, and make sure you are also subscribed to the channel. Sometimes YouTube goes through and they remove subscriptions. I had a couple hundred dumped here the other day. So thanks again, folks, and we will catch you at the next one.